Gruesome Magazine.
Hello once again, I'm Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing Nightbooks, streaming now on Netflix. Joining me this week is my co-host Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Yes, you are.
I feel like my face is crooked.
Oh,
that's just my head. Oh, okay. Never mind.
I could go in so many different directions with that, but I'm not going to go in any of them because I'm going to introduce Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing?
I'm great. You know, just when I think like I'm the weirdest person I know, for some reason, like y'all keep bringing it. It's so fascinating.
Oh, it is. It's so dry too. It's really strange. All right. Also joining us, and we're so happy to have him here, is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. It's very brave. We're talking about being the weird one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Being the movie that we're reviewing here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm glad I could be on here to talk about this film.
Excellent.
I am too. Especially after I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is the perfect film for Christopher G. Mohr," and you'll find out why very soon. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to give our first impression of the film. That will be spoiler-free, and then we're going to dive into the review. And at that time, we're going to discuss it, and we're going to spoil it. It's just how it happens. And then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5. And our favorite scene. And before we do all that, if you're listening to this review, we want to thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this review and many others we have on the site. If you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button down below or share with a friend. There's a like button too. Yeah. Hit the bell to get notified. And of course, we want to hear your comments. And I just want to say that I've been reading the comments that people have been leaving us on the previous podcast, and they are wonderful. Thank you all so much. All right, let's get to this review. What movie are we talking about? Yes, we are talking about Nightbooks. It's available streaming on Netflix. It began streaming on September 15th, 2021. It's directed by David Yarovesky, and it's written by Mikki, Daughtry, and Tobias Iaconis, based on a book by J.A. White. The cast includes Winslow, Fegley, Lidya, Jewett, and Krysten, Ritter. Yay, Krysten, Ritter. The synopsis follows Alex, a boy obsessed with scary stories who is imprisoned by an evil young witch in her contemporary New York City apartment. It is far better than that description. I'll just say that. The description is weak sauce. The movie is awesome. Let's get into this. And, you know, I'm just going to have to do it. Christopher, please start us off. Let us know what your first impression of Nightbooks is.
I loved it. I mean, this is kind of film it's definitely it's an intro to horror for younger people, and it's also a good film to watch with a family, you know, or as a single adult male. I enjoyed the hell out of it because it's one of those films that, you know, it still walks that line between being almost like a family film, but also having horror aspects of it. There's a witch at the end. It's very creepy.
Oh, yeah.
With like candy corn teeth and everything. It's very creepy. So I mean, I think first of all, the production design on this, you know, it has some really cool sort of interesting things you see. I mean, of course, David Yarovesky, if you remember him, he directed Brightburn, which is one of our, I don't know, I know Doc liked it too, but one of my favorite films of the year it came out.
2019,
yeah. I mean, it's like his sort of horror take on like superhero things. Also, his wife, Autumn Steed, did all the costuming, which if you look at all the costuming with Krysten Ritter, witchy towards me any day of the week.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost like a rave witch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost like a because you think most times when you think witches, they're just dressed in like, you know, crazy, you know, old garb or something, and she's very, very, very hip witch. And even like, you know, the outfits of the kids. But yeah, I love the story. I mean, I think it does get a little bit. It takes a little bit to sort of kick in. The very beginning, I was kind of confused about. It's like, why is this kid leaving, blah blah blah. And then you know the story plays out. I mean, once you meet other characters, you get invested in those characters, and the world becomes much more interesting. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film, and you know, being the weird kid growing up, you know, having like posters of horror. I mean, he has like a Nightmare on Elm Street poster, and I mean, he has like a rest in peace bedspread, which I didn't have, but I mean, I used to collect all that stuff, and I used to be called weird and odd, and I was the guy that liked Nightmare on Elm Street and Evil Dead, so I could relate to that. So I really, I was like, oh, this feels like me as a kid or as an adult, I guess. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I was kind of worried sometimes when you have some of those films that sort of are trying to be more family oriented, it becomes much more like Nickelodeon horror as opposed to something that's like has a creepy aspect of it. And this definitely walks that line, and also had a little bit of humor in it. There's a scene involving a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that had me laughing for 5 minutes after it, because I just couldn't believe they did this with a family film. But I was like, I still makes me smile.
I actually rewound it and watched it a couple times.
I heard from the director, in an interview, he was talking about they thought it was a really funny bit, and they were surprised they were able to sort of get it.
Keep it in there.
So anyway, I really love this. This is a really fun film. I don't mind going back and revisiting it every, Halloween or any time of year.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Crystal, you're up next. What is your first impression of NIGHTBOOKS?
I'm totally with Christopher. I really, really think it's fun and quirky, and so I mean, Christopher and I grew up kind of a lot alike in that regard, where it was, I mean, I was a girl especially, and girls weren't supposed to like that kind of stuff anyway, but whatever. I mean, at least my family was kind of okay with it. They just said, like they still say, you were always such a weirdo, like, but okay, whatever. So at least I was accepted. But this movie is really kind of a trip. I feel like when it first started out, the little boy is just, he carries the movie. He's so freaking, I was thinking also, he kind of reminded me of like a young Rick Moranis for some reason.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why.
Yeah, no.
I was like, he's so cute, and he's so sad, and he's such an angry little boy. And I love like angry kids because I'm just an angry person. So I think that it's dark, but it's also kind of vibrant. Like Christopher was talking about the witch's costumes. I mean, she has these, of course, I have some platforms like she was wearing, and I'm like, I love them. And she's got these holographic like gloves, and there's glitter. There's quite a bit of glitter on her makeup, and then in different things, like especially when you get down in the layer, like there's like glitter bars and stuff. And you would think that wouldn't work, but it does for some reason. I mean, it's kind of a lighthearted movie, but it's also not. I mean, there's some dark and sad elements to it. It's really sad for the kids, and they have a ton of cool movie references. Like they reference the Lost Boys a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, they have the poster, the song, and then the movie again while he's
On the
watching
TV.
it. Yeah, and like he said, like Nightmare on Elm Street, they have a Child's Play 2, I think. Oh yeah, what is it? Was it The People Under the Stairs? I think. I mean,
People Under the Stairs. I think there's a
putting back up in his room after he leaves. Yeah.
So
Fangoria magazine.
Oh, yep. So it's really about just accepting yourself as an outsider or weirdo. And I think that I wish I had been able to watch this as a kid, actually.
Yeah.
I think it would have helped me. I mean, I had friends because I would pretend to be normal. I kind of would act like whoever I was around, but, as far as what I really liked, why do you like that weird stuff?
Yep. When you're a kid, weird is an insult. When you get older, weird is a badge of honor.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Exactly.
All right, Jeff, sir, what was your first impression of NIGHTBOOKS?
I enjoyed this quite a bit. It's a great, I think, kids family Halloween, just like Crystal and Chris said. I would definitely have shown this to my grandkids, although they're now older than that. They may still watch it, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was neat how throwing in the little vignettes of the little kid telling the story, his stories. I really liked that. I also liked how, in terms of a family movie or for kids, the ending I think was good. I was going to spoil something right there. So anyway, yeah, I enjoyed it. And the house. Oh, I loved the library. That was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I know there was tons of CGI, but that kid was like all over the library pulling all those books out. Who knows how many of them. So yeah, it was fun, and it had a good connecting story, and we found out reasons for a lot of stuff as we went through it. So it wasn't just thrown out there. There's a witch that captures them. It's an evil witch. There was something coordinated there. So I liked it. Good effects. Loved the shredders.
Yes.
Loved the
Creepy.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It took me a minute to figure
was
that
the
out. I'm like,
thing ever.
what the hell is that? I go,
Is that a
oh
finger?
no.
Well, I mean, okay, so it was so high up. That's what confused me at
Right,
first.
right.
And I was like, wait, ooh. I love that cat though.
And that cat and how that goes. I like the cat too, and everybody knows how much I like cats. But that was cool. So there was some neat stuff in there. The relationship with the cat, what happens there. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Lenore, played by Trixie and Cleo, two acting cats. That we
I
have no
love
idea who they are.
Sphinx. Like,
Twins,
if I had
huh?
the money, I
Apparently.
would totally have one.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to chime in here with the same thing. I love this movie. I wasn't sure at first, like Christopher said, going in. I was like, oh, is this going to be painful to watch? And then I got so invested, and by the end of it, I absolutely loved it. And it's I really enjoyed our characters. I enjoyed Krysten Ritter's character. She's so eccentric, and at first it's a little off-putting, but the more you experience her, the more her she starts to make sense, right? Even before the spoilers hit the scene, you really kind of get the feel for her. And so the only thing that makes me sad about this movie is that like 5 years ago, this movie would have been a huge hit, right? Or it could have been a huge hit. And now it's on Netflix, so people can watch it on Netflix, and that's part of the today's modern way of watching films. But this would be a great experience for a lot of tweens to go and experience horror, right? And get a gateway into the genre in a respectful way, that doesn't pander to them. It actually it speaks, from my point of view, it speaks their language, and they're not stereotypical. They have their own little quirks and their own little flaws and arcs and everything. It's really interesting and so well directed by the director. I think he really needs to be doing more material. And I like that I've only seen two of his films, this one and what was the name of the super Brightburn, yeah. And both of them deal with children and their plights, and the other one's a lot darker than this one. But he has a handle on that. So I had a ball with this, an absolute ball. Loved it.
Well, I think the interesting about this film, especially the production design, is how they can take things that are sort of like be kind of goofy normally, and then make it kind of creepy. Like there's a part where they get to a witch's house where it's like almost like gummy walls. It looks creepy,
Mm-hmm.
And even the designs on the floor are like candy, and and they do these things with like their contact lenses where it's like these weird colors. It just makes it all
like spirals almost,
creepy, that normally would be like, oh, that's kind of cool. This is kind of creepy. You have like evil unicorns and I mean, and visually, like you said, that it goes through a lot of different levels, because there's the level of when he tells a story and you see this almost like cardboard cutout sets and stuff, and then other things like when they're fighting the shredders, these little creatures with almost like little ghost heads there's one that's attached to the girl's lens, and you see from her point of view where it's trying to get at her, and you see it like come this close to her eye and stuff. And it's like things like this is actually kind of creepy. I think there might be some young kids that actually might be scared, especially towards the end when you meet that really evil witch, like when they're in the elevator and you see like I almost felt like a Halloween Horror Nights elevator, where stuff's coming at the walls and stuff, and you're like, oh, what's happening here? But yeah, I think they can, and then also they have those moments where you feel for the characters, and actually we didn't even talk about Yasmin, the actress who plays the older kid in the house, who I think is just as cool and interesting, and you see that kind of relationship between those two develop. It's just like it's a really well done story that walks that line, kind of like you remember like the witches that came out back in the day, those where it has that kind of creepy aspect of it, but it's not played goofy, But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, seeing the different worlds, all these different rooms they go into, and it's not. This doesn't feel like just those goofy shows like you hate to keep putting up Nickelodeon, but a lot of times they have these goofy, almost sitcom-y segments, and here you feel for these characters. Yeah, there's moments where like even you can see the scenes where he's reading her the story, and you feel Yasmin's like listening and entranced by the story he's telling. But yeah, I just thought everything's kind of clicked, especially as we get into the story, meet these characters, it clicks to where you're really intrigued, and it feels, I don't know, it's just a fun story that makes me like, I want to see more of this, and maybe I want to read the books these are based on, because it sounds like an interesting story.
Yeah, I love the cat too, Lenore. I thought I presume it's she, Lenore, was so much fun. Because she turned invisible and everything, and even you could see they made the cat have a personality and a relationship with Alex, right? And I really enjoyed that. I that might have been one of my favorite bits of it. It was just seeing how, by his caring, that the cat, became their ally and not their enemy. So, even when he falls asleep, because he did a little trick on the witch. So, yeah.
I'd say the writers, Mikki, Daughtry, and Tobias Iaconis, that's probably another way to say that, also co-wrote La Llorona a couple years ago. I think they might have hit their wheelhouse with this one.
Much
so.
better.
Yeah.
Well, you never know what their original script looked like.
You got to grow. Right? So they did. And let's we got to cheer for Krysten Ritter, because she was having so much fun with this, and it showed. I imagine, Crystal, you enjoyed that as well. Yeah.
I love her. I don't know. I think she's so good. I just think she doesn't ever overdo it. She kind of almost underplays everything that she does, and I think she's really talented. What's interesting is, she plays like total B really well, but she wasn't playing a B so much in this. It felt a little, I think she did really well. Mean enough, but not totally. And then of course you find out, more toward the end about the real. And it's kind of sad. It's really, the whole story is kind of sad when you think about it. Like what happened, like her.
Right.
She's more quirky and aloof than she normally is in roles, and that's good to see. In one moment she's like that, and the next minute she's like, she's just like evil, and her eyes turn all blue. And
I like the blue.
So
and did you notice like her wigs changed, so it was like shorter and then be really long and bluer and gray, and I loved her look. Like,
she had like the raincoat with like shoulder pads.
Yeah,
it was.
It's like, that's so good. Those freaking pastel platforms, though, I'm like, yes.
Well, she was playing it much more jovial and, like you said, aloof, right? And there's, as you find out some of the secrets of the film, there's a reason why. There's a maturity that is involved here, or the lack thereof. That comes out in the character, and that's kind of hard to pull off without feeling, like you're feeling like you said, goofy or silly, overacting. She kind of, I thought it really worked. Like I said, at first I was a little worried, but then, man, the more she did it, the more I cared, and the more it's like, this is a very interesting villain. It's almost Disney-esque in the way she.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Like she really feels like a Maleficent type. I love Maleficent. It's always been my favorite.
Well, yeah, it's like that. Isn't there like villains series or whatever on? It kind of reminds me of that, but more, but cooler.
Yeah.
Cooler. Cooler. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And Christopher G. Mohr, sir, you are up first.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think if I was a young kid, I would have been all over this. This would have been right up my alley, and because it feels and how it's the theme of it is just embracing your weirdness. If you're the weird, quirky kid that likes telling horror stories or likes horror, embrace that. Don't let other people sort of try to water you down and make it seem like what you're doing is what's not the norm. And granted, I think it's much more acceptable now than it used to.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think kids would be as bullied over liking horror now because it's much more acceptable. But at the same time, we can definitely relate if we're the weird, nerdy, geeky people, and some of us still deal with that in adulthood. But yeah, it's a fun film. It's visually it's got some really cool stuff. I mean, it was cast really well. Production design, costuming. I think everything sort of comes together to make this like one of the perfect sort of entry-level horror films for families to watch together, and even if you're not a family, even as an adult, I think you can still find pieces to enjoy because it definitely doesn't shy away from the horror stuff. I mean, it makes candy vomit
Oh yeah,
very scary as well. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. And I was kind of worried going into it to be one of those films where you watch it like, this is, maybe I'm out of touch with family horror films. But I think this goes up there with all those sort of like horror films like Monster Squad or any of those films that we can sort of like seek and that many people of many ages can watch together. So I mean, I'm going to give it a 4.25. I really,
nice.
I really enjoyed this. This is right up my alley. I think this would be the kind of family horror film I'd like to make. And I think David Yarovesky is a really talented director. He has a really vision with how he tells stories and how he casts even the young kids in it. And working with his wife, who's a costumer, which I'm jealous of those creative couples that can work together and do. I mean, she's the one that created the stuff for Brightburn with the outfit of the kid and stuff.
Really? Oh, she's good.
Yeah, and she doesn't even like horror films, from what I understand, but she's able to create some really cool outfits for these characters to wear. So, as for favorite scene, I think you might know where I'm going with this. I like the peanut butter and jelly.
Of course, I have that written down here too. I was like,
because I don't know, I didn't know what was happening there, and then when I did, I literally was laughing about it for 5 minutes afterwards because I just couldn't believe they got away with that. But at the same time, it was amazing they got away with it, and it just made me laugh because I was just like the kids, like, what is that? It wasn't very obvious what it is. Well, then you find out what it is. You're like, oh my god.
And the cat's face, how the cat is just such a jerk. Yeah, yes,
the facial expressions and how they do the eyes and stuff. I guess they augment it with visual effects. Really works well because you can see the cat like,
You're like, what
F
you
you,
do?
kid.
Yeah.
F you. Enjoy your peanut butter
sandwich
now. I mean, there's probably other really good scenes like.
I don't take them. We might be saying.
Yeah. Anyway, involving another witch that I probably would have picked, but this is my favorite scene for comedic purposes and scatological purposes.
Scatological. I like that. The word of the day. Crystal, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score and favorite scene.
I totally agree. Like, I think that, Yeah, this is for kids, but I completely enjoyed it. And the horror kind of ramps up and intensifies until you get to like the end, and that's really where I love I love this whole candy witch thing. I like actually I would have liked to have seen even more of that. But I'm gonna give it a 4.
Nice.
And yeah, I obviously the freaking cat dump is just epic. But ooh, should I go with? Oh, okay. I was gonna go with the candy vomit, but I think that I'm gonna go with. I don't know why I thought it was really funny, and it's kind of silly, but it's a line by Krysten, and it's like the shredder ate your homework. I don't know why. She's the shredder ate your homework, and I just it hit me. I don't know why. So funny how he's like, well, you know, I think that the back and forth between them, she seemed to really like the kid in some weird way, and not like him. I don't know. It's really a good dynamic between the two. Yeah, dog.
Sorry, I keep getting distracted by this
Speaking of cats.
fuzzy little thing.
You'll be eating any peanut butter jelly sandwiches. So.
No.
Oh my god, it's just the best. That actually will make me laugh if I just think about it because it was a blowout too. That blowout. that was like splat booty, and that is so gross. And I loved it.
Oh my gosh. All right, Jeff. You're next. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
I'm going to, final thoughts is that just what everybody else is saying. It is, I think, a good movie to watch with kids. Is there some scary parts? Heck yeah. But it's not bloody. There's no swearing. It's not gory. It's what I think kids would call gross, and there might be some scary parts. So I am giving this a 3.75. And favorite scene, wow. There's so many to pick from. I guess I'm going to take one Chris mentioned, the shredder and the eyeglasses, because that may have been the scariest one from my point of view anyway.
Yes, I like that quite a bit. Yeah. All right, so for me, say hello to Finley. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit, and I just wish that it could reach a wider audience, because this is the kind of film, in my opinion, that could have like a huge fan. It's one that 10 years from now people are going to go, oh, you remember that movie we watched when we were a kid, with the cat that pooped on the peanut butter? It's going to be definitely one of those films, and it is lighthearted, but yet it takes the material seriously. The comedy doesn't undermine the horror that's there, and that's a hard balance to make, and it does a really good job. The acting and the cinematography and the set design, like Christopher said, are all reasons for that to work, and the direction as well. Cat fell over. And I think this is a winner, and I was going with 4.25 as well. I would not be surprised mentioning this at the end of the year. I really enjoyed it, and would recommend it. My favorite scene is I just like the confidence of this scene, and it's at one point the kid's telling the story, right, the one story, and he gets to the point where it feels like it's going to be a happy ending, and we've learned there shouldn't be a happy endings. And Krysten Ritter's getting ready to say something, and he goes,
"Oh yes, yes, I forgot."
And it was just like that, just the air of confidence and control that that had for this kid at that moment. It was just, for me, it was almost a cheer-worthy, brief little moment for this kid, and I really loved it. I don't know why that little scene spoke so largely for me, but it really did.
Agreed.
Cool. A lot of great moments in this that really show that this could hopefully be something that people becomes a classic, I think, for family horror films.
Yeah, it is one of the better ones. One of the better ones I've seen. We've seen quite a few over the past few years, and This one stands out for a lot of really good reasons. So, all right, well there you go. That's our review for Nightbooks, streaming now on Netflix. Check it out and leave your comments down below. We'd love to hear what you think. Are we on target? Is this a overlooked classic that people are ignoring? Should they be watching this film? I mean, it's
Are
in
people
the top.
ignoring it?
Well, I haven't heard a lot about it, but it is in the top 10 of the Netflix movies. I know, when you go to Netflix and it shows the most watched or whatever, it's in there. It's not staying high, but it's there. Yeah. I want to thank you guys for doing.
It may pick up a little bit more as we get into Halloween.
Yeah, it's a little early for the season, right? It's just a hair, but so maybe
for other people, yeah.
Not for us. It could be all year long. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. Crystal, thank you. Jeff, thank you. And Christopher G. Mohr, thank you for joining us. We love having you here. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
It's a party.
Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, what's that on the peanut butter?
Gruesome Magazine.